Every year, our small town celebrated the 4th of July with unparalleled enthusiasm. Fireworks lit up the night sky, and everyone gathered in the Central Park for a night of food, laughter, and patriotism. This year was no different, except for the fact that it would be my first time attending the festivities without my parents. At 16, I felt a thrill of independence. Little did I know, that night would be etched into my memory for entirely different reasons. The evening started normally. I met up with my friends, Jake, Lisa, and Tom, at the park. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and the air was thick with the smell of barbecues. We grabbed some snacks and found a spot near the lake, where the town would set off the fireworks later. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the town mayor took to the stage to kick off the celebrations. His voice echoed through the speakers, and the crowd cheered. We were too busy chatting to pay much attention. That's when we noticed an old man standing at the edge of the crowd, staring directly at us. He looked out of place, dressed in tattered clothes, with wild, gray hair and a weather-beaten face. His eyes, though, were the most unsettling part. They were dark and intense, as if they could pierce through your soul. I nudged Jake and pointed the man out. "Who do you think he is?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "No idea. Never seen him before," I replied, feeling a shiver run down my spine. The man continued to stare, unmoving, as the mayor droned on about the history of Independence Day. Then, without warning, the old man raised his hand and pointed directly at me. I froze. His lips moved, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. The crowd around us was too loud. "Let's move," Lisa suggested, clearly unnerved. "This guy's giving me the creeps." We quickly gathered our things and moved to a different spot, closer to the food stands. I glanced back, and the man was gone. Relief washed over me, but the unease lingered. As the night progressed, the first fireworks shot into the sky, exploding in brilliant colors. The crowd oot and ached, and for a while, I forgot about the old man. We laughed and joked, enjoying the show. That's when the lights went out. All at once, the park was plunged into darkness. The murmurs of the crowd turned into nervous chatter. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight, casting a dim light around us. The mayor's voice crackled through the speakers, trying to calm everyone down. "Must be a power outage," Tom said, though he didn't sound convinced. Then, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. It was followed by another, and another. Panic spread like wildfire. People pushed and shoved, trying to find their way in the darkness. I grabbed my friend's hands, trying to keep us together. "We need to get out of here," Jake shouted, and we started moving towards the edge of the park. The screams grew louder, more desperate. I glanced over my shoulder, and saw shadows moving through the crowd, too fast to be human. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized we were being chased. We ran, weaving through the terrified crowd. I could hear something behind us, something that sounded like growls. We reached the edge of the park, but instead of the streetlights and safety I expected, we found more darkness. The entire town was without power. "Head to my house," I yelled, leading the way. My house was only a few blocks away, and I hoped we could make it before whatever was chasing us caught up. We sprinted through the dark streets, the sounds of chaos from the park fading behind us. Just as we turned the corner onto my street, Lisa stumbled and fell. I stopped to help her up, but she screamed, "Go, just go." I couldn't leave her. Jake and Tom grabbed her arms, and we hauled her to her feet. We were almost to my front yard, when something leapt from the shadows, tackling Tom. He screamed as it dragged him into the darkness. "Tom!" I screamed, but Jake pulled me towards the house. "We can't help him now," he shouted. We burst through the front door and slammed it shut, locking it. I fumbled for the light switch, but of course, nothing happened. The house was eerily silent, save for a ragged breathing. "What was that?" Lisa whispered, clutching her injured leg. "I don't know," I replied, trying to steady my voice. "But we need to find a safe place." We moved to the kitchen, grabbing knives for protection. I tried calling for help, but my phone had no signal. Jake checked the windows, but everything outside was pitch black. We were trapped. Minutes felt like hours as we huddled in the kitchen, waiting for something, anything, to happen. The growls outside grew louder, closer. Then, the scratching started, long, slow scrapes against the front door. I held my breath, gripping the knife so hard my knuckles turned white. Suddenly, the door burst open. The old man from the park stood there, his eyes now glowing an unnatural red. Behind him, shadows twisted and writhed, taking monstrous forms. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "The town has forgotten the old ways," he replied, his voice a chilling whisper. "Tonight, they pay the price." The shadows surged forward. We fought, but it was futile. The creatures overwhelmed us, their cold, clawed hands dragging us into darkness. My last memory was the old man's malevolent smile as everything went black. When I awoke, it was daylight. The house was empty, the front door wide open. Outside, the town was eerily quiet. The park was deserted, the remnants of the previous night's chaos scattered everywhere. There was no sign of my friends, or the old man. I stumbled home, my mind reeling. The town eventually returned to normal, but the memory of that night never faded. Every 4th of July, I stayed indoors, praying the old man wouldn't return. I never found out what he was or why he chose our town, but one thing was certain: some traditions should never be forgotten.